Pranayama. First of all, we will try to understand a little of the meaning of pranayama. Prana stands in metaphysics for the sum total of the energy that is in the universe. This universe, according to the theory of the philosophers, proceeds in the form of waves. It rises and again it subsides, melts away, as it were. Then again it proceeds out in all this variety. Then again it slowly returns. So it goes on like a pulsation. The whole of this universe is composed of matter and force, and according to Sanskrit philosophers, everything that we call matter, solid, and liquid is the outcome of one primal matter which they call akasha or ether, and the primordial force of which all the forces that we see in nature are manifestations, they call prana. It is this prana acting upon akasha which creates this universe, and after the end of a period called a cycle, there is a period of rest. One period of activity is followed by a period of rest. This is the nature of everything. When this period of rest comes, all these forms that we see in the earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, all these manifestations melt down until they become ether again. They become dissipated as ether. All these forces, either in the body or in the mind, as gravitation, attraction, motion, thought, become dissipated and go off into the primal prana. We can understand from this the importance of this pranayama. Just as this ether encompasses us everywhere and we are interpenetrated by it, so everything we see is composed of this ether. And we are floating in the ether like pieces of ice floating in a lake. They are formed of the water of the lake and float in it at the same time. So everything that exists is composed of this akasha and is floating in this ocean. In the same way, we are surrounded by this vast ocean of prana, force and energy. It is this prana by which we breathe and by which the circulation of the blood goes on. It is the energy in the nerves and in the muscles and the thought in the brain. All forces are different manifestations of this same prana, as all matter is a different manifestation of the same akasha. We always find the causes of the gross in the subtle. The chemist takes a solid lump of ore and analyzes it. He wants to find the subtler things out of which that gross is composed. So with our thought and our knowledge, the explanation of the grosser is in the finer. The effect is the gross and the cause the subtle. This gross universe of ours, which we see, feel, and touch, has its cause and explanation behind in the thought. The cause and explanation of that is also further behind. So in this human body of ours, we first find the gross movements, the movements of the hands and lips. But where are the causes of these? The finer nerves, the movements of which we cannot perceive at all. So fine that we cannot see or touch or trace them in any way with our senses. And yet we know they are the cause of these grosser movements. These nerve movements, again, are caused by still finer movements, which we call thought, and that is caused by something finer still behind, which is the soul of man, the self, the Atman. In order to understand ourselves, we have first to make our perception fine. No microscope or instrument that was ever invented will make it possible for us to see the fine movements that are going on inside. We can never see them by any such means. So the yogi has a science that manufactures an instrument for the study of his own mind, and that instrument is in the mind. The mind attains to powers of finer perception which no instrument will ever be able to attain. To attain to this power of superfine perception, we have to begin from the gross. And as the power becomes finer and finer, we go deeper and deeper inside our own nature, and all the gross movements will first be tangible to us, and then the finer movements of the thought. We will be able to trace the thought before its beginning, trace it where it goes and where it ends. For instance, in the ordinary mind, a thought arises. The mind does not know how it began or whence it comes. The mind is like the ocean in which a wave rises. But although the man sees the wave, he does not know how the wave came there, whence its birth, or whither it melts down again. He cannot trace it any further. But when the perception becomes finer, we can trace this wave long before it comes to the surface, and we will be able to trace it for a long distance after it has disappeared, and then we can understand psychology as it truly is. Nowadays, men think this or that and write many volumes, which are entirely misleading because they have not the power to analyze their own minds and are talking of things they have never known, but only theorized about. All science must be based on facts, and these facts must be observed and generalized. Until you have some facts to generalize upon, what are you going to do? So, all these attempts at generalizing are based upon knowing the things we generalize. A man proposes a theory and adds theory to theory until the whole book is patchwork of theories, not one of them with the least meaning. The science of Raja Yoga says, first you must gather facts about your own mind, and that can be done by analyzing your mind, developing its finer powers of perception and seeing for yourselves what is happening inside. And when you have got these facts, then generalize. And then alone you will have the real science of psychology. As I have said, to come to any finer perception, we must take the help of the grosser end of it. The current of action which is manifested on the outside is the grosser. If we can get hold of this and go on further and further, it becomes finer and finer, and at last the finest. So this body and everything we have in this body are not different existences, but as it were, various links in the same chain proceeding from fine to gross. You are a complete whole. This body is the outside manifestation, the crust of the inside. The external is grosser and the inside finer, and so finer and finer until you come to the self. And at last, when we come to the self, we come to know that it was only the self that was manifesting all this, that it was the self which became the mind and became the body, that nothing else exists but the self, and all these others are manifestations of that self in various degrees, becoming grosser and grosser. So we will find by analogy that in this whole universe there is the gross manifestation, and behind that is the finer movement, which we can call the will of God. Behind that even, we will find that universal self. And then we will come to know that the universal self becomes God and becomes this universe, and that it is not that this universe is one and God another and the Supreme Self another, but that they are different states of the manifestation of the same unity behind. All this comes of our pranayama. These finer movements that are going on inside the body are connected with the breathing, and if we can get hold of this breathing and manipulate it and control it, we will slowly get to finer and finer motions, and thus enter, as it were, by getting hold of that breathing into the realms of the mind. The first breathing that I taught you in our last lesson was simply an exercise for the time being. Some of these breathing exercises again are very difficult, and I will try to avoid all the difficult ones because the more difficult ones require a great deal of dieting and other restrictions which it is impossible for most of you to keep to. So we will take the slower parts and the simpler ones. This breathing consists of 3 parts. The first is breathing in, which is called in Sanskrit Puraka, filling. And the second part is called Kumbhaka, retaining, filling the lungs and stopping the air from coming out. The third is called Rechaka, breathing out. The first exercise which I will give you today is simply breathing in and stopping the breath and throwing it out slowly. Then there is one step more in the breathing which I will not give you today because you cannot remember them all. It would be too intricate. These 3 parts of breathing make one pranayama. This breathing should be regulated because if it is not, there is danger in the way to yourselves. So it is regulated by numbers, and I will give you first the lowest numbers. Breathe in 4 seconds, then hold the breath for 8 seconds, then again throw it out slowly in 4 seconds. Then begin again and do this 4 times in the morning and 4 times in the evening. There is one thing more. Instead of counting by 1, 2, 3 and all such meaningless things, it is better to repeat any word that is holy to you. In our country, we have symbolical words. Om, for instance, which means God. If that be pronounced instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it will serve your purpose very well. One thing more. This breathing should begin through the left nostril and should turn out through the right nostril, and the next time it should be drawn in through the right and thrown out through the left. Then reverse again, and so on. In the first place, you should be able to drive your breathing through either nostril at will, just by the power of the will. After a time, you will find it easy, but now I am afraid you have not that power. So we must stop the one nostril while breathing through the other with the finger, and during the retention, of course, both nostrils. The first two lessons should not be forgotten. The first thing is to hold yourself straight. Second, to think of the body as sound and perfect, as healthy and strong. Then throw a current of love all around. Think of the whole universe being happy. Then, if you believe in God, pray. Then breathe. In many of you, certain physical changes will come, twitchings all over the body, nervousness. Some of you will feel like weeping. Sometimes a violent motion will come. Do not be afraid. These things have to come as you go on practicing. The whole body will have to be rearranged, as it were. New channels for thought will be made in the brain. Nerves which have not acted in your whole life will begin to work. And a whole new series of changes will come in the body itself.